Welcome to the Biz Bros podcast. My name is Kyle, and I got my co-host here, Eli. Good day here in Central Oregon. Beautiful weather, starting to warm up for us, which is nice. We got someone very special on our podcast. Might I add, probably one of the best names in the name dictionary.
Here we go.
We got Mr. Kyle Brady on our podcast today. He's a Google Discover optimization consultant and founder of a really sweet RV camping niche website called Drivin Vibin.
Oh.
Really sweet website. Him and his wife, they ditched the 9-to-5 grind to become full-time RVers. Sounds like the process. He became an expert at amplifying content to increase brand awareness and revenue. He's here today to share his secrets.
Ooh.
Mr. Brady, welcome to the Biz Bros podcast.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me here today. I'm always excited to share the stage with someone else named Kyle and, talk a little bit about Google Discover optimization.
Love it, man. Eli, you
I'll head
just
out.
take a step out.
Say on the camera. Yeah. Oh, man. Well, cool. Well, excited to have you here. Kyle, before we jump off, what is Mountain Standard? What is that hat?
It is actually, it's just a business out in Denver. And I've grown to love these hats so much. They're the really cheap type of trucker hat that is made of foam and, mesh.
Yeah.
Love it.
Very cool. And it's just a hat brand, or is it stand for something
Outdoor
else?
clothing? Yeah.
I can see you rocking that.
Yeah, I saw it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, cool. Well, we are excited for the show. As we before we dive into the topic, would love to learn a little bit more about your background. Kyle alluded to some of that 9-to-5, getting away from that. Tell us a little bit more about that, and then we'll jump in after that.
Totally. So like about 6 years ago, my wife and I decided to ditch the grind. At the time, I was a full-time musician and she was in the service industry. And our friends took a month-long trip out west. We thought that was awesome. And we thought, well, that's something we want to do, but a year sounds a little bit better to us. So we saved up for a year and really found out a way that we could hit the road full-time. And it ended up being a 5-year journey for us.
Wow.
When we launched, we did what every other traveler does, have a website. And we have no blogging skills at that point, no publishing skills at that point. So we just fumbled along for a few years as we explored the national parks and things like that. Also had a YouTube channel. Both of those things were growing, we're talking about year 2 or 3, and thought, well, maybe we can make some money from this. I really dove into the ideas like keyword research, community building, email marketing, all the typical like entry level things whenever you just try to launch a new blog. And we were able to grow the business from 5 figures one year, 6 figures, a few years later. And this year we're on track to do 7 figures. And it just was a snowball that almost got out of control. I still feel like one part of my business, the Drivin Vibin part, is I'm in the trenches every day publishing content. But then we also launched an agency with some of our other business partners where we're working with industry brands to really strategize content for them and help them execute that.
Oh, wow.
That's
And do you work with RVers? Is that the...
Yeah.
Oh,
So
wow.
all my business partners are full-time RVers, and the companies we work for are all within the RV or outdoor niche.
Oh, wow.
that's so cool.
That's cool. It's like, you're able to transcend what you love and your passion into like money.
It's been awesome. It's been a journey for sure.
Wow. So Drivin Vibin, did Vibin come from your musical background?
Yeah, that's it. We just like to say I'm the driver and my wife's the one with the good vibes. So,
Okay.
Nice.
Okay. I love it.
So is that kind of where the original blog started, like documenting your stuff, and now is it more of like news and like stuff about RVing? How did that kind of evolve?
100%. The first 4 years, I felt chained to only to write about what our experience was. So we were talking about the national parks. We were talking about our budgeting, anything that was related to our life. That's what it started out as. But over the years, when I learned about keyword research, I really felt this sense of freedom. It's like, oh my gosh, I know so much about traveling. I've been doing it for 4 years. Now I can write about what people are actually searching about.
Sure.
And that's when we kind of made that transition about 4 years in.
Whoa.
So before we kind of dive in, I got a question.
Okay.
Do you got a really crazy story? Do you have something that's just like insane that happened to you guys while you're cruising down the whatever?
Yeah. So, we don't have necessarily two crazy stories, but there's one comes to mind. What we do when we're camping is something called boondocking. It's a term that most people aren't familiar with, but it's basically camping for free, off grid, out in the middle of nowhere. And the Badlands in South Dakota is one of our absolute favorite boondocking spots. So you're camping I'm talking about hundreds of thousands of acres of nothing, just beautiful views. We're set up there. No one else is around us. My wife and I decided to go for a walk with our dog at the time. And we see these, I guess they're mountain goats, but they're huge. Wow. And it's a little bit out in the distance. So that's cool. And then we look over on the other side of us and we see these baby mountain goats. So we're like, well, let's just be super chill and walk back to our camper, which is in the middle of those two. And as we walk towards our camper, we have the mama mountain goat approaching us very quickly. Uh-oh. And our dog's there, and they're like, "Oh my God, this is not good." She thinks we're like trying to creep up on these babies, and I don't want to be in this situation. No. So, long story short, we walk as quickly as possible as we can through grass up to our shoulders in an area where rattlesnakes are known to be. So it wasn't necessarily like life-threatening looking back on it, but it was one of the scariest situations we were in.
Yeah, wow. I'm not trying to mess with no mountain.
Mountain goes to rattle. Back yourselves into. Wow.
Yeah. So, wildlife situations can get a little hairy sometimes.
That's high anxiety for sure.
Yeah. Wow. So you talk about keyword research and how that has helped lead some of the things that you're talking about. Was there what sparked that? What sparked you to kind of think a little bit outside the box, looking to kind of Google keywords?
So honestly, the thing that truly sparked it was my wife got pregnant, and I thought I need to make some serious money, and I need to find out how I can do that with what we're already working with. And I signed up for a course, and this was before I was really knew anything about blogging. I knew how to write an article. That's about it. So this course taught me all about keyword research. It's super entry-level stuff too. It wasn't anything in depth, but that was really what led my journey or opened the door for the keyword research. But what blew me away more than anything else was a sense of freedom I felt, knowing that I could write content about anything. And better still, it's actually what people want. And so when that door was open through taking the course, I just dove into SEMrush at the time. We use Ahrefs as well, but it just led me down so many paths of creating content, and with those tools specifically.
Yeah, we're big SEMrush users as well. Mm-hmm. So what's the process? What was the process for you in terms of trying to find new content through those platforms?
Like for the keywords themselves?
Yeah.
Totally. My first method was, where can I find the low-hanging fruit? Where can I find, between 500 and 1,000 monthly searches, keyword difficulties not too high. Right. And that was kind of my way in the door. Mm-hmm. It gets so much more fun as the authority is being built. And, as you can take more bold efforts about what keywords you're going after. So now the next phase was like competitor research. So I really love seeing what my competitors are ranking for. And that really inspired me to find so many great content ideas, and even trying to find a better way to talk about that is more click worthy. So I'm going to be showing up in the top results. Right. And then beyond that, I started reaching out now to just the outdoor space. And one of my top ranking keywords is Walmart fishing license. I don't know much about, I can tell you right now, I've only gone fishing a few times over the last 7 years. But it's the power of keyword research and knowing how to research and write an article.
Wow. Are there tools that you would recommend for keyword research? I mean, aside from Google Keyword Planner, are there tools outside of that you use that you recommend people?
SEMrush, honestly, for me, is the easiest tool that I use. Now, it does cost money. They have a nice introduction period where you can try it out, where if someone's into it, I'd do a little research on how to do the keyword research and then take advantage of maybe those 7 free days or however much it is. But that tool really has proven invaluable to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. Do you do anything paid in the paid search area, or is this all kind of SEO generated? You're finding keywords.
Yeah, it's going to be all SEO generated. I rarely do paid, and if I do paid, it's just to boost a post on social.
Right.
Gotcha.
Nice.
Wow, that's really cool.
Well, I think it's a good intro into the
Yes.
top 3 Google Discover content strategies. So why don't you
yes.
the first one?
Let's talk about Google Discover for a second, because I freaking love Google Discover, and I feel like so many people are either intimidated by it or don't give it any attention or feel like there's no way to figure out how it works. So if for those that don't know, Google Discover is just kind of like the curated platform on mobile devices where Google shows you what they call cards, which are just articles with a featured image of something that you'd like. And they show these results based on your search history, your location, or your browsing habits. And so that's basically what it is. And I can tell you this year so far that I've had at least 2 times more impressions from Google Discover than I have had on just standard Google search.
Wow.
Whoa.
I think the number this year for Google Discover for me so far is 68 million impressions. Now,
What?
Yeah, that's not clicks. That's not clicks.
What was that?
Oh, yeah.
So, and I say that because I want people to know I'm not a huge like blog, I'm just a guy that's RVing, writing content about it. And Google Discover is something that's attainable if you can, get a few of these strategies down.
Right.
Wow. So yeah, that's my Google Discover rant. I love it, and I want everyone else to love it because they can get into Google Discover. Right. But the biggest thing first out of the gate is writing niche content. And I know that niche content is just driven to the ground, but I'm talking about as niche as it can get. Because what shows up in my Google Discover feed are the exact things I search, even niche down even more. So a recent example is, I hate to admit it, but I've been watching The Circle on Netflix, trash TV, But so I type in, because when I'm a geek, when I'm watching Netflix, I like to look at the Wikipedia of the stuff and see what's up, what it's all about. I search The Circle wiki, and I see later on that day when I'm just scrolling through my Discover feed, it's giving me at least 3 or 4 different articles about The Circle that dive so deep into why it fell flat. Where is so-and-so who was on The Circle? Did the winner deserve whatever? And it's these are all things I'm interested in. I didn't even know I was interested in it. And Google is serving it up to me because I'm so predictable. And as we probably most are pretty predictable.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely.
So I would say never be afraid to niche it down so hardcore, and write a very specific article around a search term that people are searching, but not to that search intent, just on that topic.
Now, I don't know if we're going to dig into this, which we might, but honestly, Google Discover is very new to me. I've heard of it, but I have not. Yeah. I didn't know it was this serious. Do you have to submit the articles for normal SEO? And how does that work? Totally. Yeah. So there's no submission process. It's just going to know your site. So one of the things that I like to recommend is that you're publishing 10 articles a month, because we just want Google to know, you're an active site that has relevant sources. Yeah. And Google Discover wants to show articles that are timely, that are within a 48-hour window is usually when it's going to show it. And it just needs to be on something that's people are interested in. So the niche content, is the first way that I would say to go for it. Write super niche, and if you can write timely in the niche, that's even better.
Walmart fishing license.
Yeah, there you go. I know it's something that I would have never guessed. And this is what I'm talking about, where in the best of both worlds, you get the Discover traffic and the search traffic, because it's so niche that if someone just looks up fishing license in Texas, Google might recommend that as an article to read. The cool part about Discover is versus search content you're kind of waiting for people to come to you. Whereas Discover, you're going to them with good content and it's discovering it for you. That's really cool. It's like the social arm of Google, and it works like the old school days where Facebook would show ads or show articles. I mean, do you know how is it? Do you know the user? Do you know how many users are on it? Do they have that count out there? Is it very
active? I mean, obviously 64.
Oh my God. Yeah. I mean, I'm getting usually tens of thousands, at least 10,000 visitors a day from Google Discover.
Wow.
So it's super active. But then again, my niche is pretty specific, RV, outdoor, and camping.
Yeah.
But any niche can be niched down pretty good to somewhere where someone's interested on it still at scale.
All right.
Yeah,
well,
definitely like the social arm. I like how you said that. I feel like
Yeah.
that, I mean, they kind of tried. Didn't Google have that social platform a long time
Google
ago?
Plus or
Google
whatever.
Plus.
Yeah.
This is like a spin-off.
It was their way to probably.
Yeah.
No. And so it's just, instead of showing nothing under the Google search bar on a mobile app, now it's just a scrollable feed of things you might be interested in.
Got it.
Interesting. Okay. All right.
All right.
So then, number two, we have location. So if you are known for regional content, or you even have, at least a small section of your content based on regional aspects, digging in and writing about a city, a region, anything to that effect. Even so, for me, it's going to be like, I could write about Route 66. I could write about coastal Texas, and then this is going to show up in the feed that's completely different from just a standard RVer, but to someone who is either in that area where Google can locate the device and be like, you're in this area, you might be interested in something that's, concerning it. Or if you're searching it again, it's, show up. So regional content can really amplify your potential to get found and discover.
Okay.
So within your articles, as long as you kind of have some type of mention and in the title of the location, there's nothing else you're like doing in terms of like
targeting,
like anything or
honestly, the more lifestyle related, the better. So like we could say these 3 breweries in Denver are open for business and better than ever, and it's just a typical listicle article, but that's going to be hyper focused on something local.
Got it. That makes sense. And it's 2 niches you're hitting. You're hitting the location and you're hitting the brewery scene.
Exactly.
Okay.
So, and then the last way I would say that we can really give ourselves better odds of getting into Google Discover is by talking about industry news, about whatever niche you're writing about. There is news related to it. It doesn't matter if it's cooking, RVing, or whatever, and if you can approach it from an industry side too, I find that in a lot of niches, there are very few people talking about the industry side of it. So in the SEO niche, it's almost all industry, or, a large part, half of its industry. But in other smaller niches, you can really gain some traction that way.
So what's an example for your website?
Oh, man. Yeah. So for Drivin Vibin, it would be Winnebago releases its first all electric RV. Bam.
Nice.
I'm hitting Winnebago. I'm hitting electric RV. It's timely news. It's social, like where people are wanting to share it.
Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. Yeah. My mind's turning right now.
I'm glad to hear it. And let me tell you this, though, with all of these strategies, one of the biggest pieces of Google Discover is that we get it out timely. And I'm talking about 5 minutes within pushing in that article out there, we're sharing it. If you have a newsletter, that's even better, but we want to send the signals to Google that this article was just published and now people are interested in it.
Got it.
That makes
get people on there, get the eyes on there, get people crawling in, moving along on it.
Exactly.
Sharing, hopefully, and then hopefully that triggers the Google gods.
That's it. That's my challenge every day, to hopefully have a wonderful line of communication with those gods out there.
I can imagine consistency plays a pretty big role as well, right?
Totally. You're so right. I mean, we're publishing 2 articles a day, and that's like a great 1 article a day is awesome. But even like I said, 10 articles a month, there are people that I've seen have great success with that. So it definitely doesn't have to be daily, but the consistency has to be there.
Is there a certain time of day that you found works better? You're publishing every day, twice a day.
Yeah.
Have you done like some analytics on that and seen what's working best?
Most definitely. And this is where it's slightly frustrating for me, because we also have a daily newsletter. So I put out the 2 articles and then I send out a newsletter. I found that my newsletter gets a lot more opens if I send it out in the early evening. but Google really likes it in the morning because it's sending out that fresh content every day. So I kind of sacrifice a few email opens and but to please Google a little bit better. And that's with my demographic, which we have to look at as a lot of people that are 50 and over, that are probably reading the news in the morning. So I wouldn't say it's the same across the board.
No, that makes sense. You kind of you kind of sacrifice those few opens so you can hopefully get a good return,
more impressions
with Google,
and
more authority as you go by. If you impress and get that quality score up with Google,
exactly,
it's really important.
Yeah. Wow. What was the tipping point for you in terms of transitioning and understanding? Like you said, because you're gonna have a baby, you wanted to start making some money. Is that the big tipping point? I know you have a couple other topics that you talk about as well, but one of them is kind of transforming personal into an industry style blog. But what was like the big tipping point where like, whoa, we can make money from this. This can be industry based instead of road and Vibin.
Yeah. There's two tipping points. And one of them was just what you said. It was that mental change that I made where it's like, I'm here to make money now.
Yeah.
And that was like the tipping point that showed no results out of the gate, except internally within me. But then after that, I would say it took like 6 months, and 6 months of me chucking away at the time, writing an article a day and publishing the newsletter. But then it was probably January or December of 2019, January of 2020, where I started seeing, Google discovers the thing. I'm really trying to learn it, and I'm seeing tons of traffic. And then that kind of, then we all had the COVID hit, and that was a really big cluster. But what came from that was I have industry news every day. There's breaking news every day, and I can twist it to be applicable to the RV niche. And that was the huge tipping point, was people were hungry for content and hungry for news, and I was making sure it was coming.
Wow. What was the effect of COVID?
Oh man.
In terms of like, let's just talk impressions. Like, did it just blow up or what?
It blew up.
Yeah,
RVing is one of the niches that has just exploded. So, I mean, I am so grateful that I didn't struggle like some. And there's a feeling of guilt that comes along with that as well. But it's like, man, it's just the right place at the right time and doubling down even at that time. And that's really when I started putting out 2 articles a day and just saying, I need this to be my moment where I take off.
That's right.
Yeah.
Wow.
Cruising through your website right now, it's pleasing to the eye, but it's just so easy to navigate. You don't make it confusing.
I love it. Thank you.
Yeah.
The ads aren't like super like in your face or just there. They're not like, because some websites just way too much.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's a big part. It's like that homepage, I only have the bottom ad, and I want it to be like a magazine that whether you subscribe to the newsletter or not, you can come back to this homepage and it will be updated every single day.
So do you is this website like a lead source for you as well for your agency? Is that kind of part of the strategy, or how does that work?
Man, the agency just happened because, when you have friends that just are excited about starting businesses, you end up making a lot more work for yourself sometimes. So we started the agency because we knew there was a need for it. But now we are just maxed out. So we do get leads quite often, not necessarily through Drivin Vibin, but it's hard I can tell you right now, we cannot keep up with the leads that are coming in. So because the team at the agency produces the content for Drivin Vibin and our 7 other clients, we have a team of like 20 writers and 3 editors and a few other polishers. Yeah. And we're putting out between 200 and 300 pieces of outdoor related content each month through the agency.
Gosh, that's insane. And since you're an authority in the space, everybody wants to work with you guys.
Yeah, on a good day, that's the way we like to think of it.
No, don't want to jinx you.
Yeah.
But,
wow, this is great.
Awesome.
It does look awesome.
So what's next?
Yeah.
Where we're focus? Where you guys heading? What's the big end of the year kind of goal?
So I would say truly the end of the year goal is to solidly surpass the 7-figure mark. That's within just the Drivin Vibin world. Other than that, our internal team goals are always automation. So we can step back. The personal goals is allowing myself to let go of some pieces.
Right.
So, it's always all those three things I think work together, but it's letting go, automating the processes, and hitting that financial goal are really the big three that we're working with.
Awesome.
Yeah. So what's just out of curiosity, I mean, you don't have to dig into it
Yeah.
at all. For Drivin Vibin, like what's the revenue? Is it the ad revenue? Do you do affiliate work? How does that work?
I would say 80% of our income through Drivin Vibin is going to be through website ad revenue.
Okay.
We do have a YouTube channel with over 100,000 subs, and that makes a little bit of revenue as well.
Yeah.
Affiliate is going to be a source of revenue. We've been fortunate to, once we built the authority and the traffic to this point, to not have to work so hard on sponsorships and step away from that almost completely. I like working with the industry, but I do think it's a better look for the company when we're not putting out sponsored posts.
I agree.
I feel like the name is so brandable. Do you guys do clothing, like shirts and hats?
Yeah,
I just feel like Drivin Vibin. Like,
I see.
Absolutely.
I have this one hat, and my wife says it looks like it's a hat that my aunt embroidered, So I don't have much confidence with the merch right now, but
I just like
it is brandable.
It's very brandable. I could totally see it.
Stickers, you guys could do.
Oh,
yeah, I could see it on the back of Sprinter vans. I mean, you could.
Oh,
seriously,
you could go crazy.
It's just because it's like a saying too, like Drivin Vibin.
Yeah.
It's very marketable. Anyways.
No, I love the idea. And again, this is part of the automation and stepping away and be able to focus on these other ideas as we can hit those points.
That's awesome.
Well, cool. Well, if there's one thing that you're hoping that our listeners kind of take away from, if there's a few lines that you want to kind of say, that's really the big punch of the conversation, what would that be? Don't
forget about Google Discover. On KyleBrady.com, I have the Google Discover roadmap. That would be my selfish plug. But if you want the roadmap to Google Discover, check that out. It's a free download. But otherwise, just do research and learn about Google Discover, because otherwise the ship will sail. Get the real estate before anyone else does.
Right. I would imagine once Google Discover starts to like you, it'll just keep serving you because it's keeping an eye on you. So it's just kind of getting in there. First movers advantage. How long has Google Discover been around?
Yeah. Right.
It's probably been like 2.5 years maybe, but it's really starting to understand itself, starting to understand where it belongs, and its algorithm keeps changing and becoming so accurate on what it delivers up. So I think, and it's also good to say that it's more native to the Android phones right now. So the process and how it appears, but it's still on Apple phones if you have the Google app.
Gotcha. Wow.
I'll be up all night.
Yes, please do.
KyleBrady.com.
Yeah.
Cool. So we usually ask people, where can they find you, where they can find more information and follow you. So what would that be?
Yeah, KyleBrady.com to look at like the strategy stuff. And if you want to see what I'm doing in the trenches, DrivinVibin.com.
Sweet. Well, thanks, Kyle. That was a great conversation. It was super helpful for us. I did not realize how much I was sleeping on Google Discover. It was impactful.
I love to hear that. Honestly, do the research and check it out because it will be an amazing asset once you get it rolling.
All right.
Well, sweet. Well, thanks, Kyle. We'll definitely have you on, and hopefully, as you're on the road, if you're ever in Central Oregon, make sure to hit us up. We'll definitely hang out.
Sounds great. Thank you guys so much. It's been awesome.